I think the root of the struggle that most people have is a lot of BS information that they've got plugged into here.
Welcome to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast, where we help you live your best life while working on your health and fitness goals. We're here to make your journey fun and inspiring.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the V-Shred Better Body, Better Life podcast. Today, I'm your host, Vince Sant, and I'm super excited to have Victoria Scott here with us. She's been just a completely transformative face and figure in the fitness industry, focusing on women in midlife, helping women over 40 specifically. She's a certified personal trainer, women's fitness specialist, performance nutrition coach, as well as a fitness competitor champion. She's competed in 13 different bodybuilding competitions, which is crazy, and holds the title WBFF Fitness 35 Plus World Champion 2022, which is very impressive also. Now she is a columnist for Strong Magazine. Her Coach's Corner promotes a muscle-centric approach to longevity. And she just inspires women to age in reverse, which is one of the things that we're going to be talking a little bit about today. Originally from Southern California, now in Las Vegas with her fiance and two Frenchies. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Excited. So I know I just kind of gave you or just gave them a big intro of you. Why don't you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what got you into fitness and what makes you you?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because there's a lot of competitions I've done. People look at me as a fitness competitor, but I, just like every other woman, I started like, why don't I have muscle tone, right? I picked up a magazine and there was a woman who had definition in her arms. And I'm like, why don't I have that? Like, that was literally all I wanted. And then it turned into...
When was that?
That was 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how old were you then?
Long time ago. I was just out of college. Okay. So mid-20s.
Where'd you go to college?
San Diego State.
San Diego State. Mm-hmm. Nice. I bet that was a fun college.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Yeah.
And then so what got you into fitness?
Yeah, so I was always an athlete, actually. I played basketball growing up. And in college, you kind of like lose that, you lose that athleticism. So after college, like I said, it was just like any other woman. I just wanted to look better. I felt subconscious in my clothes. I wanted to have definition, and I never, despite going to the gym and doing all this stuff, I just never had definition. I thought there was this big mystery to it. And I saw this woman in a magazine when we had magazines. Do you remember when we had magazines?
Yeah, now it's all online.
And I thought, why can't I look like that? Why don't I have arms like her? Literally, that was my only goal. I was not trying to do anything else but just get arm definition. And I kind of just dove right in. I started following some of the suggestions in the magazine, and then I got hooked and really started lifting weights and got into the gym, met some people who were competing, and that opened my world to bodybuilding. The more aesthetic aspect of things. And kind of the rest is history. It just became like a hobby initially, and then I jumped into a show, and then I loved it and just kept going.
So what were you doing prior to that weightlifting era that was about to begin?
Oh man. Well, I did, again, what most women are doing, right? They're going out and doing a ton of cardio. I was living in San Diego, so I would run down to the boardwalk. I'd run 6 miles a day.
Wow.
I had a typical 20-year-old diet. Right?
Consisting of, let's hear it.
Consisting of...
I think my 20-year-old diet might have been a little bit different.
Drive-thrus, skipping breakfast.
Okay.
Cocktails with my girlfriends on the weekends,
And was
trying to eat healthy most of the time. And just had no rhyme or reason to anything I was doing. I knew nothing about nutrition. I was intimidated by the weight room. I'd go into the weight room and I'd do a couple of sets of bicep curls, and then I'd go march myself right back to the treadmill.
Yeah.
And so I was always like, I work out 6 days a week. I'm running 6 miles a day. I'm eating less food.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I literally do the complete opposite now.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's changed now?
All of it.
Yeah.
Completely different. So,
and then was there one specific moment where you were like, okay, or one specific person? Was there a mentor that kind of got you into all of it? How did you really make that decision to make that shift?
That's a great question. So we talked about birthdays earlier. Mm-hmm. So I'm a Taurus, so I'm stubborn AF. Mm-hmm. And I thought, like, I've done everything, right? You've heard this before.
Yeah.
I've done it all.
Of course.
And so I just kind of like just let myself lean into the process and said, okay, fine. I'm just going to follow this to a T. I'm not going to deviate. I started getting some results. I got a little bit stuck. And then a girlfriend of mine was like, maybe you need to do more. I thought, oh,
More as
it's a
in what?
novel idea.
More as in what?
More as in like, I was doing, your 3 sets of 15 or something, right?
Okay. I got you.
I got to a place where I hit a plateau with stuff.
Okay.
I learned enough to hire a coach.
Okay.
I got to that point.
Okay.
And I remember she gave me a very specific plan. And I thought, you know what? Fine. Prove me wrong, right? This is the Taurus in me. I'm like, I'm fine. I'll follow your plan.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Was
So I
it
followed
like
everything.
immediate?
Oh yeah, it was mind blowing to me because I was eating so much food. Initially, I remember my first email to her said, like the subject line I wrote, "I'm full,"
Nice.
literally. And the training was totally different than I had trained before. It was
How?
It was definitely more volume.
Okay.
And not that a lot of volume is perfect, like not that people
Not
need to
always
be.
the answer, right?
It was compared to what I was doing before. Like I said, 3 sets of 15 on bicep curls and moving on to something else
Yeah.
is not enough
Yeah.
for people once they're like, past the first month, basically.
So it went from that 3 sets to 15 to what?
So like I had more of a body part split. So
Okay.
I focused a little bit more on more volume on legs, splitting up more volume on my upper body. I ate more food. That was huge. Initially, it was not really much cardio. Like later when I was trying to get lean for a competition, there was cardio. But initially, no, it was, I was lifting weights about 45 minutes to an hour, 5 days a week, and then eating really good quality food too.
Yeah.
Right. Not just like,
Explain a little bit about what the nutrition looked like once you started eating more.
yeah, like I think a lot of women, especially 40s, 50s, like my age category, I'm turning 40. We grew up in an era where it was like eat less. We had the 100-calorie pack
Of course.
diet food.
Of
So
course.
everything's packaged and
Everything's low
marketed.
cal, everything's low sugar, which low sugar is not the worst, but
Totally. Yeah. But I think it's the perceived,
yes.
like this is healthy and
Yes.
we've packaged it
Fat
for you.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it totally moved away from that. And I tell my clients to focus on single ingredient items.
Nice.
So if there's an ingredient list, you probably should maybe have that 15% of the time. I think most people and most women, because if you survived the dieting trends of the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, you had low fat, low calorie, less this, less that, eat 1,100 calories.
Yep.
And
Skip meals.
yeah.
And
And there you go.
cardio.
Go do some cardio.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was eating literally just whole foods, like good, clean, high quality protein sources, chicken, beef, fish. I mean, a wide variety of stuff. And it's funny because now that is so normal to me, but I think back at how I would eat when I was a teenager or in my early 20s. And like, I don't even know how I lived.
I know. I look back and I'm like, I don't think I drank water.
Yeah.
Like
I really
literally
don't.
had like Mountain Dew like all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how I was hydrated or lived.
Yeah. So a lot of just whole foods, I think.
And so do you cook a lot?
I don't now.
So what's your work around there?
I do meal prep companies a lot.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. So we work with a Trifecta's
Yep.
meal prep company that I
Yep.
work with. So get stuff delivered. I mean, we do a little bit of light cooking, but I'm really busy with work,
Mhm.
like most women who are my age. Right? You're committed to your career.
Yeah.
You've got family. You've got responsibility. I have 2 Frenchies, so I've got responsibilities. But it's like you don't want to spend all your time cooking.
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, in this day and age, there's so many workarounds to having food delivered, meal prep, like that kind of, I mean, you could even go to local grocery store and shop. I say shop the catering section,
Right.
That's so easy and quick. And then, keeping it simple. Like most of my food is delicious, but I have a rule of like no more than 6 ingredients.
Okay.
So to make the entire meal.
And now are you somebody who needs variety throughout the week, or are you super structured where you're eating the same thing all the time?
I would say, and I was like this even when I didn't have like a healthy diet, my breakfast and lunch snacks kind of stay the same. I think we all kind of gravitate to our, even if we say we like
We're all
variety,
kind of
most
creatures of
people,
habit.
yeah. But then I think it's mostly dinners that I'll toss in some more variety.
Okay.
And we have date night. My fiance and I will go out and have date night. We like to have cocktails here and there, but we have such a better perspective on like wellness and lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I was talking to a client of mine about this, not using alcohol as a coping mechanism, for example. It's for date night, celebration.
Right.
You don't need to overindulge.
Yeah.
And, when I was in my 20s, you go and have like 5 or 6
Yeah.
like vodka, whatever,
5 or 6
cranberry
is a
or
light
something.
night.
Right. Yeah. So I don't do that anymore. But I'm also not like super, broccoli and whatever, chicken.
Right.
I can't remember the last time I had broccoli.
Typical, chicken and rice.
The
basically.
bro diet.
Yeah. So you started this, you said you were out of college. So
Mhm.
let's say mid-20s.
Mhm.
For the last 10, 15 years, how have things changed with your routine?
Yeah. So initially it was a huge learning curve, right? I think for anyone getting started, you're changing your behaviors. Your whole system feels like it's upside down initially because it's so different. It really is just a totally different lifestyle. But once I leaned into that and I found like, oh, I really like this. And I turned it more into less about being a diet and more about being curious. Like I got really curious about like, what else could I do? Like, how far can I take this? And I loved competing.
I would say that's the competitive nature in you.
Mhm. Yeah. I think competing is interesting though, because some people do it as a dieting, like,
To motivate them, kind of.
yeah, which for me, I actually liked the athleticism of it. So it was a little bit different for me, but figuring out still the off season. Like, what do you do when you're not in this prep?
right.
You still have to have the discipline, just like anybody else,
Right.
to get up and, this morning I get up and do my steps. I do a
Right.
walk because I have a desk job,
Yeah,
right? I'm on my computer doing programming.
And for the everyday person, that's like New Year's, they're excited. But then like when March rolls around,
Yeah.
now where are they getting motivation
Oh, most
from?
people don't make it past 13
it's like-
days, right?
Yeah.
Something
exactly.
was the stat.
It's like 90% or like
I always
3
tell
weeks.
people, don't start on New Year's. Start on like Wednesday in October.
Yeah, like the statistics around New Year's fitness resolutions are crazy.
Yeah, I think it's something like I think it's within like 13 days. It's something like 70%
Yeah, I was
fall
gonna
off.
say like 87 or
It's
something like
pretty
that.
high.
It's wild.
Yeah, so it's like, don't be one of the statistics.
Yeah.
Just start tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you'll do so much better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to figure out that, and by the way, at that time I still had a corporate job, so I wasn't coaching. I actually worked in marketing before. And worked for some big agencies in LA. And I loved it. And I thought that was my career. And fitness was like my hobby.
Right.
It was something that I did after work.
Right.
I totally empathize with the people who, I've got an hour commute, got to go to the gym, prep all my stuff, get back to work the next day. Like that was my life for a while. And things just kind of shifted. My interest I lost interest in that career path. Because I think 6 or 7 years later, I was still competing.
Just fell in love with it.
I was so into it that I started coaching some people on the side and loved that. I started training people in person, like on the weekends and nights. And then I decided to just dive right into coaching. So
who do you know? What's your typical client?
At the time I was actually in San Diego. I lived in a very affluent area. So it was definitely like 50s plus.
Okay.
Men and women. And yeah, they would hire me 5 days a week to train. So I got full so quickly, but I would get so frustrated because it's interesting. A lot of in-person clients don't listen to trainers when it comes to nutrition. And it's all my online clients, because I had online clients at that time too.
Purpose.
It's so weird. It would frustrate me because I thought, gosh, like here you are doing the work.
Yeah.
5 days a week, but you will not listen to what I say about nutrition. And so the results are marginal.
Why do you think that is?
Honestly, I don't know.
I think people just don't take the diet part serious probably because that's the hardest part. And they know that. And they know that's where they're struggling. But they go, oh, well, if I do work out tough or if I work out hard and consistent, it'll make up for it.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
I used to, do you used to say that? I don't know if you've always been like in great shape or not.
I
but-
will say I got good genetics. And so and I do work out a lot,
Yeah.
especially now, like I'm doing like triathlon stuff.
Oh, cool.
And so like I lift 5 days a week and then I do triathlon stuff 4 days a week, which is a lot of training. And so
How many
like
calories do you
I
eat?
can eat, I aim for 4,000.
Okay.
But like sometimes I don't get that. And so it allows me to have legit like cookie dough sometimes because I just need to hit calories.
Yeah.
And so it does allow me to be a little more lenient with my diet, which is really nice. And I've always had a fast metabolism.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. And that's why I do really try to empathize with people who have the opposite issue. Because people look at me and they're like, oh, I wish.
There's pros and cons. If you're trying to build a ton of muscle, it'd be difficult for you. People don't realize also you get to a point where it's hard to eat that much food.
Right.
So there's pros and cons to both body types, I think. But yeah, I've just found that through online coaching, you can give someone a training program and they've got the roadmap. They can go at their own convenience and train, and then they take the nutrition a lot more seriously.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. So automatically I saw such great results with my online clients that I just kept going that direction, and the in-person stuff faded away. So I only do online now. And
that's interesting. 'Cause I feel like most people, they're kind of hesitant to do the online. I mean, I think it's getting more and more normal now just because everything's moving online.
Yeah.
But people like that in-person accountability, and they don't realize that they can get that online still. It's just in a slightly different way, but they're going to get like more attention, because before it was like, oh, you're meeting your trainer for 3 hours a week total.
Yeah.
Versus now it's like, if you need check-ins, if you have questions, just text them, or whoever you're working with, whatever app they use. But I feel like there's way more attention on with online training than there is in-person training. People don't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it depends on the situation, the person, like convenience. A lot of, I mean, you've probably seen this, a lot of people who are in their 40s, 50s, they usually are more advanced in their career. So time is of the essence. They can't just always make a class. They can't make this specific time because the trainer only has these hours. So they can still go if they travel for work or whatever and still make it fit, you know, and they feel like they have a plan. I think there's certain populations of people who still probably need to see someone in person initially. But,
I hear it all the time. People who are like, no, I need to work out with somebody. I need someone there to just keep me going and make sure that my workouts are good. And I totally get that. But don't go into it with the mindset of, well, that's just my workouts, because obviously the diet is pretty important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's people really underestimate. I mean, and I say that because I did that too. I grossly underestimated how much nutrition.
Same. I've been working out since I think I stepped in the gym at like 14 years old.
Okay.
And then didn't eat till I was probably 21, 22. And that's when I started seeing results.
Were you an athlete?
I played sports, yeah. I actually had to quit football because I was too small.
Yeah.
And that's why I got in the gym. So I was like,
you gotta eat some more food.
Smaller than everybody.
Yeah.
But I thought I was eating food. That's the thing. People have convinced themselves that they're eating, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, when in reality, if you were to, like, what I usually say is, like, if somebody's trying to get into nutrition, track it for a week. Just a week.
Don't edit. Just
1 week.
Write it all down.
Don't change anything. And I'm not saying you have to track forever, but I think it would blow most people's minds if they just track their intake and just see what they're, and then give that to somebody who knows what to look for. Because
Absolutely.
You might just look at it and be like, oh, well, that's low calorie. It's like, well, maybe that's not what you want. That's just a misconception that you've accepted is what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think MyFitnessPal published a study that showed that I think people lost weight if they just tracked for the first 7 days.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. I recommend MyFitnessPal to everybody.
Just start tracking for awareness. I think just the general awareness helps people start to make smarter choices and learn about nutrition. But then I still think, you know, we don't learn this stuff in school, right? And it becomes more nuanced as you get older, and special considerations like yourself. Like if you're a little bit more of an ectomorph, maybe a little bit.
Very much
so. Like the calculators don't factor for that stuff, right? They don't factor for your dieting history, your muscle mass. Like they don't factor for all of these little things, whether or not you have an autoimmune disorder. And so that's when I think coaches can come in and like really look at everything with like experienced and say like, this is what you should do and go this direction.
Yeah.
But you know, tracking is so important. And I don't track forever, you know, especially when I'm in my off season. I have like this is like kind of silly. Maybe this is a nerdy coaching thing that I do, but sometimes I'll go through my whole day without tracking anything, and then I'll track at the end of the day, and I'm almost always within 100 calories.
You just try to test yourself, see if you got it.
I know, it's so nerdy.
That's you competing against yourself right there.
Yeah, I've written so many meal plans, and you just learn, like, you know, what your body needs. And I think you also become more intuitive, like protein, for example. I think most women undereat protein. And
I'd say everybody,
men too. And I'm at a point now where if I'm low throughout the day, I can feel my body like craving it.
And and you're not looking as full. And,
Oh yeah.
And so I want to touch back on, you mentioned when you're working with your clients who are in their 50s and 60s, that time is a big constraint for them. Are there any other like specific struggles or roadblocks that you've experienced your clients in their 50s, 60s, maybe even older, or even in their 40s, just as people are leaving their 20s and their 30s? What are some things that people are generally struggling with that they didn't before?
The external stuff of like time and family, all of that stuff is still going to be there. I think the root of the struggle that most people have is a lot of BS information that they've got plugged into here that they still default to.
So things they've tried before.
I've done consultations with people, and people will just say stuff to me like, "Oh yeah, I don't eat very many carbs in the morning time, and I try not to eat after this time." Like the rules, right? The diet rules, and it's so ingrained in us that by the time they hit 40s and 50s, they just go into this default mode.
This is what works for me. Oh, does it?
And that's usually what's tripping them up. They have to you have to let go of some of that stuff, let go, put in a new disc.
So what would you say are a couple of the common ones?
I think for women, specifically fasting.
Okay.
I've actually seen this with men too, being low carb.
Okay.
Like perpetually low carb is another one. I call it the health halo of food. So this idea that because it's labeled as healthy, just eat that, right? So a woman will go to Cheesecake Factory and order the salmon salad, right? So you've got this big salad.
They even have it on the healthy menu for with
the olive oil and the walnuts, and you've got 100 grams of fat in this one plate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's like triple of what you
your
need.
Calories.
Exactly. And the idea that I see this a lot more with women, but healthy fats, the overindulgence of healthy fats.
Interesting.
Way more than they actually need.
That's weird. Why do you think that is? Just because it's
labeled as healthy.
Okay. And they're just avoiding carbs.
Yeah, it's low carb and it's healthy. Salmon. There's nothing wrong with salmon. There's nothing wrong with walnuts. There's nothing wrong with olive oil.
Nothing wrong with anything.
But they're consuming so much of it and not realizing you probably need way less fat in your diet than that. Yes, you need healthy fat, but you're quadrupling what you actually need.
I mean, men and women, obviously hormones play a part, but probably more so in women because they're reaching midlife and menopause and everything. How do you think that affects women?
I think, the symptoms of menopause are different for every woman, and the range of where women are in perimenopause could be, I've got clients who are 38 who are in that, and I've got clients who are 52 who are regular and they're not even close. Yeah. So the range is so different. I think that women experience menopause differently based off of how they have been taking care of their body. So going into your 40s and 50s, lifting weights, having a good diet, having a high protein diet, being active. But I think what happens is we become more sedentary because of work life, right? Diet, you have kids or whatever, your diet goes.
Just life's just becoming more sedentary.
So you're eating less protein, you're losing muscle, you're being more sedentary. And as a result, now all of a sudden hormones are shifting and it seems like the symptoms are just magnified. So I think that because I know plenty of women who've gone through menopause who had their fitness trainers like me, maybe, right? So they've had years of just healthy diet, strength training, and they have virtually no issue. Now, because it's so different for every person, you can't say weightlifting is the key, but if anything was to mitigate symptoms and help to balance out your hormones, it would be weight training.
If you had a gun to your head and you had one thing to say, it'd be that.
Yeah, weight training. Yeah, weight training itself is going to keep your GH levels high. It's going to help keep your testosterone high. Having muscle is going to help your body process glucose, right? So you have you're not going to see as much of a shift as people who they kind of went by on good genetics for a long time, right? I get that every once in a while. They slimmed by in their 20s and 30s with good genetics, and then all of a sudden they woke up, and their world got turned over. And it's no, I think that it's usually lifestyle habits. We agree on that. Lifestyle habits, your diet, how you train, your sleep, alcohol, stress management, all the lifestyle stuff has a greater impact in how you experience aging. So the more that if you can do something about it, why wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. And how do you just get people to accept that they're going to have to make so many changes in so many aspects of their life? Because everybody's heard it's a lifestyle, not a whatever that,
not a diet.
Yeah, whatever that is. Everybody's heard that, but actually doing that and actually like changing like your morning routine, your sleep schedule, your diet, your after work schedule, like all of it, like your home life, like scheduling, taking the kids to practice, whatever it may be, like it's a lot. How do you get someone to buy into that?
Well, I think they have to buy into it themselves. They have to be enough is enough. Like they have to be ready and really want to make some changes. And then taking like small steps. Like what is like the low hanging fruit that you can change? Is it increasing your protein? Is it drinking more water? Like pick one or two things to tackle and get really good at those things. And that honestly, that's what I do when I do comp prep. The only difference from my off season
comp prep is that the
competition prep.
Well, I get it,
the
but
slang?
I guess so. I never heard it. I never heard it.
We'll educate you. So in the off season, it's just lifestyle. And then when I go into a competition prep, which is usually about 16 weeks, I'm a Taurus. So I don't just flip a switch. My fiance, he can do that. Like he can turn tomorrow. He's perfect. You could offer him a piece of chocolate. He won't even touch it. I'm not like that. So I have to say, okay, this week I'm going to take this out. And next week I'm going to make sure I hit my water target. And the following week I'm going to add.
So do you start that so that by 16 week mark, you've changed everything, or do you start slowing into it at that 16 week
I would say it takes me about 6 weeks until I'm in like full swing.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think most people, if they just focus on what's the one thing that I can do this week that's going to have the greatest impact on my week. Mm-hmm. It could be, for a lot of people, it probably is going to bed early. Because why? If you get better sleep, cortisol levels drop, probably more likely to get up in the morning and go for a walk or do a workout. You're probably not going to be snacking at night, right? Stay up too late, you start getting into the kitchen cabinets. That it could just be that one thing that could have a domino effect on all these other things. I recently started really upping my water intake because as the cold season starts, you start to be like, oh man, I don't want to drink water. Got my big water bottle here. I have a policy now. I will not drink coffee until I drink 1 full liter. And so I chug that. Then I can have my coffee.
It's like a reward. Nice.
I literally stand in the kitchen and just pound it. And then I get my coffee. I do my walk. With breakfast, I'll have another liter. And I think it's been about almost a month and a half now that I've been doing that process. About
so you've
4.
got a half gallon by the breakfast. Wow. So how much water do you drink a day?
I'm trying to do 5. I get between 4 and 5 now. And it has made such a difference in my energy levels. I have noticed that having that water even before I have my coffee, my energy does not drop in the day. And I used to be like, couple sips of water, coffee, couple sips of water, coffee. Yeah. And
even convince yourself that, hey, coffee's water too. I'm drinking water.
I'm drinking the water at the same time. No, but I would still always be under on my water target, especially in the cold months. And my energy, I would have these like, oh, I feel so tired. What's the easy thing for us to do? Oh, maybe it's perimenopausal. No, it's my freaking coffee and I'm low on water, So it's like, fix these big rocks first.
Yeah.
So that's why I tell new clients, if they're really, really new to fitness, what's the one thing that you could do this week that's going to have the greatest impact? And just focus on doing that one thing. I don't even care about anything else. Like if you don't even hit your macros, like just.
Yeah. And so you talked about sleep and you talked about water. What would you say would you prioritize them in that order? Like if someone's like, I'll
tough.
change whatever one change you want me to make this week. What is it?
Well, I think it's whatever's for that person, whatever's hard for them. So for me, water was my biggest thing. And it has made a huge difference in my energy levels. I mean, when I train, I tell people you don't want to train with like jerky muscle, right? You want dehydrated muscles. Yeah. You need hydrated muscles. So, and being older, a lot of us are like, oh, my hips, my joints. Well, your body needs water. It's 70+% water. Yeah. So many women are walking around dehydrated and then they get headaches. You might have cravings or whatever. And there's so many systems that rely on that. So if that's you, drink more water. And then I'm good with that now. I'm like, okay, let me get my sleep under control.
I did want to ask you, like, obviously gym is a big aspect of this. And especially when it comes to women, generally intimidated by the gym, right? How do you get people to overcome that fear?
Oh, that's a tough one. First of all,
I can speak from experience with that being like the women in my
intimidated by the
family.
gym. Oh, really?
No, not me.
Oh,
Not me.
the women in your family
Yeah.
are scared to go to the gym.
Yeah, not scared to go to the gym, but they're not in the weights.
Intimidating.
Yeah, because like my little sister, she wants to lose weight right now, and I'm like, you need to lift weights.
Mhm.
And she's like, yeah, but I don't want to get bulky. I'm like, you ain't gonna
Oh,
get bulky.
jeez.
Yeah, so like that's the stuff. It's like that can't just be my. I know for a fact that's not just my sister because we hear it from our female clients all the time. So how do you get someone to overcome that?
Well, first of all, fear of the weight room in terms of like intimidation or fear of getting bulky.
I would say it's a combination of both.
So intimidation, I think, well, first of all, most people who are going to a gym are going there to improve themselves. And it's just usually just you in your head about like,
Yeah.
people are judging you. I've actually made some of my best friends over the years. It's funny because once you become like quote unquote gym person,
Mhm.
it's everybody else that judges you.
Right.
And it's not until you go into, you're like, oh, my people, here they are.
Right.
Right. So I think there's that. I think going in with a plan is helpful, which is also why I think the
huge.
online coaching thing is really cool because you have like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to go do today. Like, where's the machine? I think that's helpful. I would have my plan and I would go onto the treadmill and I would kind of walk and I would look like around the gym and be like, okay, I'm going to do that. I would map it out in my head of like the stuff I wanted to go do. And yeah, I would just put my headset on, get comfortable in that first 10 minutes of walking. And then I would just go from one to, well, sometimes you do feel like people are watching you, but I've just found more people are there that would help you.
Yeah.
Like if someone asked me, hey, what are you doing? Can you show me how to, I would of course help them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big misconception, but just going there with a plan, I think is really helpful. Because if you already go there and you think, oh, I don't even know what I'm going to do when I get there, of course you're going to feel self-conscious.
Right.
So I think there's that. And then,
That's great.
The a fear of getting bulky. That one is so good. I have been lifting weights for 15 years. And I just said to my coach after this last show, I actually wrote a post about this. I saw my, Brad, my fiance, took my photos that morning and I didn't see them. I went off to the makeup room to get my makeup done. And my coach said, like, he's like, you effing did it. Like, you nailed it. And I was like, oh, what do I look like? I didn't even look at my photos yet. And he sent my fiance forwarded them to me. And I started crying because I was like, oh my gosh. In all the shows, I've done 13 shows. I don't feel like I ever was satisfied with like my overall look and like muscularity and stuff. And I'm not a super, I'm more muscular than the average girl, but I'm not like a bodybuilder, right? And that took me 13 competitions and 15 years.
Wow.
Okay. So when I hear a woman who's just getting started, like, oh, I don't want to get bulky, I'm like, I promise you, if you start to put on too much muscle, the moment you think I have too much muscle, you just let me know and we'll stop.
Yeah.
Right. Because it takes so much time. I mean, the average woman, if they're doing everything right, can put on a half pound to maybe a pound of muscle a month if they're doing everything right. And if they have good genetics.
Right.
If your sister has your genetics, she probably has to eat a lot more food.
Yeah. No, it's funny you say that because I've said something similar in the past. I'm like, I've been lifting for 15 years also, and I'm still not there. And so like, I'm still trying to get big and bulky. So if you can do it, you let me know how you did it.
Yeah, right.
It's like,
I should be paying you.
Yeah. And it's like, and especially like the difference in testosterone, like that's me with 10 times the testosterone of the average female. And I'm still struggling to do it. So I was like, you ain't got nothing to worry about.
Yeah. The only thing that happens usually is women get, especially if the diet is on point, right? You gotta have a good diet. You will get tighter. Your clothes will fit better. You'll have more confidence. You'll just like the way you look better. And pretty quickly, especially if you're a newbie, like a month and a half, you'll see really good results and they just get better and better and better. If you're a woman who's lifting weights and you're just getting bigger, it's your diet, right? Like you're doing something wrong with the diet.
Right.
Eating too much, eating the wrong mix of stuff, too many cupcakes.
Yeah. And then what would you say rest and recovery, what role that plays, especially with women over 40?
Recovery is more important when you're older because, your tendons, ligaments, everything has more wear and tear. So for most women, if they are getting in the gym and they're doing 3 to 4 workouts a week at a high intensity, taking some sets to near failure, they should need 2 or 3 solid days off. And muscle builds, right, when you are recovering, not when you're training. So it's the recovery. It's the stuff that you do the other 23 hours of the day.
Yeah.
Eating properly, sleep, hydrating, resting. And the body knows what to do. You don't have to beat your body up. It's the people who like overtrain that struggle a lot because they're just constantly wearing the body down. So I think recovery is a huge deal for older women.
Is there anything specific that you do to help out with recovery?
I think planning proper rest days. We do a weekly check-in with our clients. So we're always asking them like, how's your recovery? How's your stress levels? How's your sleep? And that's key. I think those are the things that people they're downplaying, right? They think like, oh, but how many sets should I be doing?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many days a week do you? And I'm like, I actually work out less now than I ever did. Especially I'm in a build phase right now. So I'm on a 4-day split.
Okay.
So I have 3 full rest days. I mean, my training days are hard.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong.
Right.
So I need that rest. And I think the average woman, if they are training hard on those days, they're going to need the rest.
Yeah.
And they're going to get more bang for their buck.
Yeah.
In the long haul. So monitoring that, we monitor our clients weekly. Sometimes if they're in a dieting phase, we might bring their calories up for a week and give them a diet break so that they can, calories are what helps you recover.
Yeah.
So to prevent diet fatigue or say, hey, this week, just go half intensity just to give your body a little bit of a break. Everybody's different though. If you're a woman who was like maybe an athlete growing up, your tolerance for pushing your body is probably a lot higher than somebody who started. I have clients who start at 55.
Right.
Literally had never lifted weights in their lives. And they're brand new to this whole thing. So for them, recovery isn't as quick. Like their bodies
take some time to get going up to speed.
Yeah. Or if they have one too many hard workouts in a row, they could be out for a week.
Okay.
And then now you're losing a week of effort.
Right.
So balancing that is key. It's not, I always say it's more isn't better, optimal is better.
Nice.
Right.
Like
and
that.
that's going to be different for each person.
More isn't better, optimal is better. That's good. And then do you stretch, mobility, sauna, cold plunge? Do you do any of those?
So I have a tissue guy here that I go see for massage.
Okay.
And I also have a chiropractor that I go see, and he does dry needling. Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, I hate it, but
he's had me in tears.
It's phenomenal for you.
Yeah. I get a lot of tightness in my right shoulder, and basically my whole right side gets really tight. And it affects your lifting. It affects how you move. So I try to do one of those activities weekly.
Okay.
And I also encourage, if you're somebody who is getting into a strength training routine and you're starting to take this seriously, recovery is part of the mix. It's not
huge.
People think training is like
part.
95% of it, and then a little bit of diet.
Right.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, you got to think of it as like you're making a pie, right? And like all these ingredients is going to make your pie. And like, what is that? The recovery is so important. So at least if you can afford it, right? These are things that cost a little bit extra. If it's getting a massage, dry needling, chiropractor, whatever that costs. And if not, you can get like a Theragun, right? Do a little bit of that. Epsom salt bath. You can foam roll. If you have a good partner, you can get them to massage you, right? But something, you need to be doing something every single week. And even walking, right? We all sit so much. Getting up and walking is very therapeutic. And you get the body
walking
moving.
Probably the best thing. I was actually having dinner with this guy. He's got his PhD in bio something, super smart guy. And he just studies like all the best ways of like how to get the most effective workout strategies, I guess. And walking is above all of them. It may not be the best time wise because it's going to take extra time versus like if you wanted to do like a 15-minute HIIT workout, but walking is highly underrated.
Yeah, it really is. And I would say that for myself too, because being an athlete, it's like everything's goal oriented, right? You want to hit a target, and walking is like, okay, great.
It's not very intense.
That was hard for me initially too. My earlier fitness days, cardio was always very intense. I think for people who are midlife, women who are 40s, 50s, walking is like the easiest thing. You don't need to be doing all these like crazy HIIT sessions. I know women who will do a HIIT session like 6 days a week, and they're just wear and tear on the body. And they're like, why don't I look like you? And I'm like, I don't do that. So
do you recommend like walking on incline? Do you recommend walking outside?
Yeah, like zone 2.
Okay.
So for me, I do have to get on an incline, like not super high, like a moderate, like a 3 or a 6, something in that range.
And
and
how
I get
long
my
do you
heart.
generally do it?
I'll do like 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
And again, it's because a lot of people look at me and they find me on social media and they think like, oh, you must live in the gym. And it's actually quite the opposite. My training sessions are maybe 40 minutes for upper body, 45 minutes to an hour for lower body.
Wow. Okay.
I know it's pretty crazy, but you get really efficient if you actually take sets to failure. So
Do you work out with a trainer each time? Like, do you have a coach who's there with you?
it's like a mix of stuff. So I do have a trainer that I work with here locally. I have a couple of friends that I do YouTube videos with, and we train together. And then I train by myself.
Okay.
So it's like a mix of stuff. And it keeps it fresh for me too.
Right.
Because, being in the fitness space, you can get bored or you can get like, okay, I don't feel like doing this today.
Very much so.
Yeah. So I mix it up, but I'm training 4 days a week, maybe an hour max, right? It's nothing what people think I live in the gym. And it's like 3-hour sessions, every day. Quite the opposite. I'm actually on my computer for like yesterday. I think I was on my computer for like 6 hours straight.
Yeah.
And so me getting my steps in, I think yesterday I got like 4,000 steps in. It's really bad. So I didn't do my walk in the morning time, but if I have to do that walk, otherwise I don't know how the day's going to go, So I'm just like anybody else who has an office job. It's like I struggle with the same stuff, but I have to get up and I prioritize, and it's the discipline of the thing. You know, I said I'm going to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I know how I feel when I do, and I know how I feel when I don't.
Yeah. And so I guess just last thing, what is one piece of advice you would give to any woman, or especially anyone over 40 that's listening right now who wants to start their fitness journey today?
If it's available to you, I would definitely say get yourself a coach. Coaches or a program that you can follow, because they shorten the gap, the knowledge gap. People think like, oh, I don't need a coach. I'm not trying to be a fitness competitor, right? Or I should be able to figure this out myself. And you waste a lot of time, and it's so easy to get online. And especially with social media, man, you can go 1,000 different directions. Coaches help you kind of have the roadmap. They keep you in the bumper lanes, and they shorten the knowledge gap. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So you could spend, and if you're already in your 40s or 50s. People are busy.
They ain't got time to go figure everything out.
Exactly. So if you're already someone in midlife, number one, time is of the essence, right? We're losing muscle at a faster pace. And number two, you could be making a lot of mistakes that are completely avoidable. And I know because I did it and I see it. I hear women all the time that go, oh my God, I wish I found you when I was 30. I wish I found this program. I wish, you know what I mean? I'm sure you hear that the same thing. So when people actually have a roadmap to follow, they have the support, they skip all that stuff. They can save themselves so much time by just getting on a plan, Yeah. So
that's awesome.
That'll be it.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
all of this. It was awesome having you on here.
Yeah, it was great.
You're very good at talking, I will say.
I do it quite a bit.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of good info here and a lot of stuff that I feel like I could even relate to. I know we talked mostly about older women, but I feel like this was a lot of good stuff for just everybody in general, and how to overcome, I guess, myths, because that's obviously a huge part of just the fitness industry, especially in the internet era. You go and ask, and especially like you just go ask, like everybody has their thing. Yeah. And so it's like, if you go to the person who's the fasting guy, he's gonna be like, well, you have to fast. Or the keto guy, you have to do keto. It's like, well, is that right for that person? So I love that you take it. No. So I love that you take the approach of like, well, because whenever I asked you a question, it was like, well, it comes down to what that person needs. And I think that's a huge missing piece in most people's mindset. They're like, oh, well, this worked for my friend, so I'm going to do it. It's like,
I say most people make more customizations to their Starbucks order than they do their own nutrition.
Yeah. That's an interesting way to put
Kind
it.
of scary.
Well, cool. Appreciate you being here on this with us. This was very fun.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring you back in for some follow-up episodes. And then where can everybody find you?
Yeah, you can find me. I have a YouTube channel as well. It's Six Pack Chick, and then also Six Pack Chick on Instagram.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of V-Shred's Better Body, Better Life podcast. Whether you're doing one of our programs, taking our supplements, or just doing things on your own, tune in every week for exclusive content with Vince, V-Shred trainers, and special guests as they share valuable tips around motivation, workouts, food, and living a healthier lifestyle. See you next time.